Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Minority Report. I am Arlan David, your host, and again, it is indeed a pleasure coming into your homes, into your living rooms, into your family conversations, as we usually do, and bring to you the information that matters most. We know that there's so much taking place right here in Tobago, and we always seek in the minority to provide you, the general public, with information that is solid, that is fact-based, that is well-researched, and that may or may not have found itself into the public domain. And I'm saying that with a hint of caution, because there are some things that may not have found itself into the public domain by happenstance, and then there are some things that have been deliberately kept out of the public domain, and it is the responsibility of this minority to ensure that you, the general public, are very much aware of all that is taking place, decisions that are being made that directly and indirectly affect you, the people of Tobago, and Tobago's general development on a whole. This evening is going to be no different as we continue to delve a bit deeper into the autonomy conversation. And this minority has taken the lead on this conversation to really bring this into a public type consultation and public type forum where we have the ongoing conversation, because it is only going to benefit us here in Tobago, this whole conversation about autonomy, if persons are aware as to what is autonomy, what are the benefits of the bills that are presently before the Parliament, and what do we as Tobago stand to gain by supporting these bills. And it's quite a bit of information, and we've been looking at this over the last couple of weeks, and we will continue to increase the discussion, continue to increase the volume of the information that is being shared with the general public in an effort to have everyone on the same page when it comes to understanding the trajectory of development that we're looking at, and that these bills will in fact bring to the table. You logged on this evening, you can share a link for the Tobago Updates website, or send someone a message who can access the Tobago Updates website if they can view the show on that website. You can view the show on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. You can also view us on the Tobago Updates Facebook page, and most persons utilize this opportunity because it enables you with the opportunity to converse with us as well, share a bit of your comments. I always encourage persons to keep your comments respectful, as a number of children participate in the program by way of watching. A great element of the program is the educational aspect of it. And so many of families and people meet us all the time in the roadways and tell us that they gather the entire family to listen to the show, because the element of education that is involved in it is one that can benefit both youth and senior at the same time. So it is indeed a family show, and I want to take the opportunity to really thank you, the members of the general public, not just in Tobago, but also in Trinidad and up the islands, and especially on the wider side, the diaspora, for making this program the success that it is and has been. Had it not been for your support, had it not been for your comments, for your recommendations, we don't think that we may have been able to make it this far, but we definitely have really realized that we are not in this alone, but we are in this together. And this evening, I really want to say thank you for making the Minority Report the #1 viewed show on Tobago Updates Network and widely in Tobago itself. As we continue on this evening, I want to take the opportunity to welcome with me on set this evening Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit. Welcome to the program again, Minority Councillor.
Good evening, Maryland. Good evening, Tobago. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. And wherever you are tuned into the Minority Report, so welcome and thank you for staying logged on. Special good evening to the minority leader
It's
out there, doing the people's business in Australia. Good evening to you, sir.
And just to probably drill down on that a bit, for those who may have missed it, the office would have put out a press release indicating that the minority leader, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, joins the Trinidad and Tobago delegation at the 67th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference as part of a THA team. I think it's 4 persons, led by the presiding officer. And so, minority leader, good evening, and we know you continue to represent well and to do us proud here in Tobago. And I mean, these conferences, when you actually attend and participate, they really carry a lot of value in them and equip one to better serve the people of this nation when he returns. So good night, or good morning, I should say, to the minority leader, because I think they're like a day ahead of us. So he's already literally into tomorrow.
Yes.
So good morning, minority leader. And a minority councillor, I mean, it would be remiss of me if I didn't say this, fresh off the meeting in Calder Hall.
Yes.
Very well done in terms of your delivery. We had a very interesting and important meeting, not just for the People's National Movement, but for the people of the island of Tobago. And I want to encourage you, if you were not present, if you were not logged on, if you weren't there physically, and you did not get an opportunity to listen to the contributions of that meeting on Sunday evening in Calder Hall, get back to the live link, get back to the Facebook page, and pull that meeting up and sit down and take note of everything that was said with respect to Tobago's autonomy and the move towards greater autonomy that came out of that meeting. A number of very stirring and educational contributions coming forward. Both MPs, Senator Dennis, their political leader, minority councillor, and so much more that would have been brought forward in that particular meeting that can only redound to the benefit of us here in Tobago. So I want to encourage you to go back to that meeting, pull it up, take an opportunity to sit and to internalize the conversations. And let me say that this was not a fly-by-night meeting, minority councillor, where you go in the community and we say we call out the village councillor and then we just throw and bandy around autonomy. But this was a very pointed meeting. The conversations were very pragmatic. They spoke directly to the push towards autonomy and greater autonomy, and spoke heavily to the benefits that can be derived to Tobago from this push. And I think that, I wouldn't even say I think, the People's National Movement continues to take the very forward stance of advancing not just Tobago, but Trinidad and Tobago. But in this case, Tobago's autonomy conversation continues to be led by the People's National Movement. And we're going to get a bit into that as the program goes on. But Minority Council, how was the experience?
It was actually a sobering one, because what we recognize is that people need to be informed about the contents of the bill so that they will not be easily misled. And outside of going back to review the meeting pushed for autonomy hosted by the People's National Movement, I also want to encourage persons to get the information, get the report of the Joint Select Committee in relation to this particular subject. Read the bills for yourself, the 2 bills, the Island Government Bill and the Constitutional Amendment Bill. Read it for yourself. Do your own comparison. Compare what is proposed in the 2 bills to what the Assembly is currently governed under Act 40 of 1996. And you do the assessment for yourself. What was very informative about the meeting on Sunday is that each speaker spoke on different aspects of the journey towards autonomy. So we would have had the sitting in the House 2 Thursdays ago in October, that the House resolved to do a number of things. One of which is to have a bipartisan meeting within the THA and the parliamentarians. That was approved. The motion that was brought by the minority leader was amended, and I continue to say that the essence or the substance of the motion was not amended so that to lose what we were trying to achieve. And as a result, the minority did not object to the amendments that were made. So the entire House approved the motion to have the bipartisan meeting. So a recap of what transpired in the House, I would have provided that recap. Minister Webster Roy would have provided the benefits to the bill, and the minister broke it down in a way, and I was telling her that it was in a way that the man on the ground could understand. He could feel how the bill will benefit him, how the bill will benefit the individual man, the individual woman, the children. So she broke it down in bite sizes. Then Minister Kojo would have dealt with, because she was a part of the Joint Select Committee. Yeah. So she dealt with the whole history coming from pre-1980 right back to what is currently before the House and the work of the Joint Select Committee. And of course, the political leader, he brought it all together. So it was a very informative meeting where all the speakers dealt with different aspects of this whole push towards autonomy. And I want to encourage people to do the research. The information is there, and avail yourself of the information. Do your own comparison and determine for yourself which is better.
And let me put this in there, because I know that copies of the bill are available at the legislature.
Yes, copies of the bill are available at the legislature. Copies, limited copies, are also available at the Office of the Minority Leader. So you can, and it is also, if you go to the Parliament website and you pull up the Joint Select Committee, you will see the reports there as well. So it is available. So
let's all be a part of
the discussion.
The discussion, and it's easy to be a part of it. It's simply, you can pass by the Office of the Minority Leader, collect a copy. You can go to the legislature and collect a copy. You can go to the Parliament website if you're into tech and download the copies. Let's all make the deliberate decision to be informed and to be a part of informed conversations. Not just shouting and hullabaloos, but informed conversations. Now, Minority Councillor, before we actually get into continuing our discussion in terms of the benefits of autonomy as we have been doing, I want to very quickly build on a context. The People's National Movement, we would have shown how serious we take the autonomy bill. The minority leader and yourself would have gone to the House 2 Thursdays ago, brought a motion before the House, calling on this administration and the House, by extension, to support the bill and to be a part of the conversation going forward. There were some noteworthy things that I would have pointed out from that session. One, the now Chief Secretary, who, when he was a candidate and used the autonomy conversation to really be a pillar of the campaign, he was notably absent from the meeting. I want to point this out to Tobago, that since this administration has taken office, they have never brought one single motion, one single conversation to the House of the Assembly pertaining to Tobago's autonomy. I'll repeat that. they have not brought, out of what, 34 sit-ins?
34. So
not
our last
one
private members sitting was the 34th sit-in.
34th sit-in. So in 34 sit-ins, they have not brought one motion pertaining to Tobago's autonomy. The minority leader and minority councillor in their private members motion, which is like once every 4 months,
Yes.
took the opportunity to bring this very, very serious conversation about Tobago's autonomy. And the chief secretary decided to be absent from that meeting. What was even worse, minority councillor, is that it appeared as if every speaker had a different context and perception of what autonomy means to Tobago.
Yeah.
And it speaks clearly to the fact that the members of this administration have no common ground.
And even today, well, I listened to the news before coming here, and of course, with the minorities leader recent media release
We're gonna
in
get to
relation
that.
to this discussion, because we are coming from a sitting where the motion was amended by the majority side, and nowhere in the amendment spoke to this committee that is being set up. So again, the discussion the discussions on the floor of the Assembly Legislature in relation to the motion, everybody had a different view of what autonomy meant. So clearly the executive is not on the same page of what autonomy is. Some persons spoke to federalization. Some persons speaking, and based on the conversation, it is coming across as if they are seeking secession.
Yeah.
And now, coming today, we are hearing the chief secretary talking about having a committee. If you wanted to put a committee in place, we were having a discussion 2 Thursdays ago. Why wasn't that part of the amendment?
And minority council, I'll ask the director to pull up that press release that the minority leader would have put out today. This thing has me upset. It speaks a lot to the dishonesty of this administration.
But it speaks a lot to how they are not on common ground.
They're not on common grounds at all.
And clearly they're not communicating, because if you come with an amendment that was premeditated, and if it is that you are having serious discussions about how we want to progress autonomy for Tobago, everybody, and particularly the executive, everybody should be singing from the same hymn book.
Yeah.
So if you are coming to make an amendment based on what you are proposing and based on what your conversations are within the executive, that should have formed part of the amendment to the motion.
Exactly. So the question is, when this motion was brought to the House, was this even a thought in the mind of the chief secretary? Or the bigger question is it that this is yet again another charade to try to escape having the real conversation and to not support something that would have taken years to get to this point?
Decades.
This is so disheartening. And I'll ask the director to cue up the audio of the chief secretary's statement as well, because it's important for the members of the public to understand that we are not making this up.
Yeah.
This is not us coming here and just trying to hoodwink anyone. The release came forward today, minority leader I expressing extreme concern as to the actions of this chief secretary, who now seems to be singing a completely different song.
Correct.
To what was sung two weeks ago.
And what I want to go back to is, and I'm going to read the amended resolution.
Please.
And I will just read the resolution. So the resolutions, there were 3 resolutions that were put forward and was approved with amendments. The first resolution was, be it resolved that this House acknowledges that the provisions of these bills will have far-reaching and positive impact on the powers of the Tobago House of Assembly and the quality of life for all Tobagonians. Be it further resolved that this House unequivocally supports the swift and unhindered passage of these bills into law, recognizing that any further delay will perpetuate the long-standing disenfranchisement of the people of Tobago, and be it further resolved that this House endorses all necessary actions to ensure the passage of these bills, including an urgent bipartisan meeting between members of the THA and Parliament to facilitate their smooth and timely enactment with necessary amendments. Nowhere in those resolutions
unequivocally supports
speaks to the establishment of
any
a committee of any sort. And this is the resolution. These are the resolutions with the proposed amendments from the majority side.
Mr. Director, could you cue up the audio clip so that we can hear the Chief Secretary's statement on this matter?
I will be writing the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, and all members of the independent bench of the Senate, inviting them for us to have conversations. The Tobago Assembly set up a technical team that is led by Dr. Winford James, and this technical team is prepared to sit and go through the Tobago position with all members of the Parliament.
This is outrageous, to say the least.
No, and nowhere in the debate, no member of the majority side or the executive spoke about a technical team being set up. I remember that, I think it was the first budget presentation. The Chief Secretary spoke about establishing a team led by Dr. Vanus James. I think there has been a fallout since between Dr. James and this committee, and then we heard nothing else about
autonomy
and what the THA intends to do. Fast forward to this year, I think it was this year. No, it wasn't this year. Before the former Chief Secretary passed away, we heard about a letter being sent to all parliamentarians. No one in the Assembly legislature knew the contents of what was sent down. Until last Thursday, or until 2 Thursdays ago, there was no discussion in the legislature in relation to autonomy for Tobago. And even while the discussions were ongoing in the House, no member in their conversations or in the debate spoke about this technical team and the work of the technical team.
This is again
so
another
I don't know
opportunity.
if this is a secret.
Always trying to hoodwink the people of Tobago, and I think Tobago is becoming weary of the games and the shenanigans being put forward by this Chief Secretary and his administration. Last I heard, he's not even on island presently.
No, I think they are.
He came back and he left again.
ITB?
Yeah, and the question is, what is the priority of this administration? We continue to ask this question. Here it is, we have one of the most important discussions in the history of Tobago's development taking place. And the Chief Secretary continues to travel, come back to the island, stay 2 days, leave again, and other members of his administration is as if they don't even care. And then we have this nonsense, which clearly did not exist 2 weeks ago, coming now to say to the media about a technical team being set up. But it seems as if this Chief Secretary continues to utilize the strategy of every time the autonomy bill gets to a point where it can materialize for Tobago's benefit, he aligns himself with an entity or an individual and writes to the members of the opposition and asks them to not support it.
But when you compare the bills, my question is, so there has been extensive consultations and discussion on what is currently before the Parliament. We have all agreed that it has been a long time, decades since this conversation is happening. We have also agreed that autonomy is a process.
Yeah.
You will not get everything you want in one go. So with the establishment of the THA, and some will say re-establishment of some legislative system in Tobago. So in 1980, all that was requested by the persons, A&R Robinson and Dr. Murray and all those people and the like, they did not get all that they wanted at that time. Should they have said, we didn't get everything we want, so forget about the bill, don't pass it, throw it out with the bathwater? No, they accepted what they got, recognizing that it was insufficient. We now have the amendments which gave more powers than what the 1980 Act did. We are now in a situation where if you compare what currently exists to what is being proposed, there are even greater powers. Currently, there is no lawmaking powers in the Assembly legislature. There will be lawmaking powers with the proposed bill. Currently, we have a minimum of 4.8% to 6.09%. The minimum allocation will now be 6.8%, and a fiscal review committee which can propose in excess of 6.8% based on the development needs of Tobago.
So there's no cap?
There is no cap. We have an expanded legislature where we have approximately, I think it's 21 persons. So you have 15 assemblymen, you have councillors, majority, minority, as well as independent, all increased. We have a situation. So when you compare the bills, when you look at Schedule 1 as well, the items that are in Schedule 1, there are about 4 items which is not listed on the current fifth schedule that is in the Schedule 1 to the proposed legislation. You have all the items listed that you could make laws in relation to Tobago. You have 11 nautical miles when compared to 6 nautical miles. So if you compare what currently exists to what is being proposed, it is more. We are not saying that the bills are perfect. We are not saying that all that is requested is there, but it is a move in the right direction. Nothing prevents us from accepting what is currently proposed. And if you have recommendations, bring forward the recommendations.
Exactly.
Have those things approved, and then we push for more autonomy. We have been having this discussion for decades. If these bills stay languishing in the Parliament, it means that we have to resume the process all
over again.
So it means another 30 years before, or another 20 or 10 or how many years before we get back to the point of some legislation before the Parliament for approval.
Folks, we are mounting in this discussion. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to look at the current act, and the flyer is already up, to drill down a bit further into what we have now, as opposed to what the bill provides for, and bearing in mind that the only conversation that seems to be circulating in a positive manner, that is towards advancing the push to greater autonomy, is being led by the People's National Movement, both in central government and in minority in Tobago. And I want to encourage you, this is serious business. This is a very serious conversation, and that we all should be a part of it. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we continue with this evening's program.
Tobago, your voice matters. The Police Complaints Authority invites the public to its community outreach session. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to attend and give us feedback. Join us Thursday, 14th November at the Canaan Bonaccord Multipurpose Facility from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come share your thoughts, raise your concerns, and learn about how the PCA serves to ensure accountability within our police service. Your input makes a difference. Let's work together for a safer, stronger community. The Police Complaints Authority. Independence, integrity, and transparency in action.
Are you thinking about spending Christmas in Tobago? Well, call us at Thorns Place. We are located at the hills of Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port, with rooms starting at 200 TT. Call us now at 745-7306 or 682-8676. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Message us on WhatsApp at Thorns Place. Your Christmas in Tobago will be even more special.
Get ready for Tobago Stockwest Next Level 2024. Join us for an unforgettable night of talent and excitement as Tobago Stockwest, in collaboration with Tobago Updates, presents the first semi-final on Thursday, November 14th, 2024, and the second semi-final on November 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Shore Park Complex. Celebrate the incredible talent from across Tobago's communities and witness a showcase like no other. Admission is just $50. Don't miss your chance to support the stars of tomorrow. See you there.
Coming up, Friendship 7K excitement, local business support in St. Martin, greater air travel to destinations like Barbuda, accommodated in style, the contributions of Raymond Lawrence. It's all next on this station.
Hey everyone, it's time to stand up and make a difference. This year, we're coming together for the walk against crime. Bright and early at 5:30 a.m. on November 15th, we will be walking through the village of Golden Lane. And guess what? After our walk, there will be a delicious breakfast waiting just for you. And that's not all. Get ready for an aerobics burnout session where we'll be moving, grooving, and having fun.
Let's show that we care about our community. When we walk together, we're sending a message. We want to live in a safe, happy place, free from crime. So grab your sneakers, tell your friends, and get ready to be a part of something big.
Remember, it's not just a walk, it's a way to show we all have the power to help make our world better. See you there!
Black Friday starts now at Courts. Get new and amazing deals every week with the lowest prices on the hottest electronics, top-of-the-line appliances, and stylish furniture. No need to waste your time shopping around. Plus, you can shop now and pay us in February 2025. Black Friday starts now. Don't miss out. Courts, bringing value home.
I tell people nurses are not just nurses in the region. We really do owe them sincere appreciation, love, gratitude.
Meeting people in a vulnerable state, it's definitely a calling. And that's why I chose this profession.
We appreciate these people for really bringing us through challenging times. We appreciate you. We love you.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
And folks, we are back. Welcome back to the Minority Report. And we are having quite a bit of discussions and conversations on air and also off air. Joining us this evening as we go right back into those conversations online is former Secretary of Infrastructure, Mr. Kwesi Devines, now becoming a regular fixture on the program. Advancing the conversation about autonomy as well. Kwesi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Marilyn. Can you hear me clearly? Good evening to you. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to the Minority Councillor, Petrel Daniel Benoit.
Hi,
How
Mr.
you all doing?
Gibbons. We're
Well,
doing well.
we the studio hot right now. We upset because we have a presumed leader of the Tobago House of Assembly who sits in a position where he continues to flip the script and attempting to hoodwink Tobagonians, and now has taken a stand which we know, anybody knows that if we go in this direction, it is now going to hinder the advancement of the conversation about autonomy, when just 2 weeks ago, his administration, led by him, made amendments to a bill where they agreed to unequivocally support, and that was the word used, to unequivocally support the conversation, a bipartisan meeting between the THA and the Parliament to advance the bill. And now we're hearing the Chief Secretary in his usual manner, being very resourceful with the truth, singing a different song. So yes, right now we upset in studio. So that is how we are.
And you know what, Marilyn, I was just going through a bit of script here, and it reminds me very much of the spies that brought the bad report. You know, when the children of Israel were on the cusp of entering the promised land. When the children of Israel had gone through a great journey and survived quite serious threat, and had suffered for a long time in the wilderness. And they were just at the cusp of entering the promised land. And the Lord asked Moses to send out 12 spies. And they went and they saw that there was a land of milk and honey. They were able to cut down great fruits. Yet when they came back, the focus was on the fact that there were giants and that there were great dangers that lay ahead. And instead, incited fear in the people. Instead, they attempted to let the people rebel. Instead, they allowed the situation to get where the very people who had toiled and suffered could not even enter that land of promise. And you see, if we're not careful, Marilyn, just like the children of Israel had to suffer another 40 years, we can go another 40 years
Exactly.
if you're not careful, talking over and over and over again, rehashing the very same points over and over again. And the young people, the people who are considered to be young people today, will be the old people then, and then new young people will come and will have different views, and the norms of society would change, and we would end up in a situation of a never-ending cycle. When in fact, what we can see is, if we ask a simple question, will we be in a better place, in a better position, in better standing if the bills were to pass? The question is yes. Would we have greater resources at our disposal? The answer is yes. Would we have increased powers compared to the powers that we have now? The answer is yes. Would there be greater responsibility for the Tobago House of Assembly and by extension the people of Tobago? The answer is yes. And if you were to go down the line and ask, is it that you now want independence? The answer is no. Should we secede from Trinidad? The answer is no. Does it make sense for us to stay in this quagmire over and over again, arguing about the very same thing that we've consulted for years upon years about? Answer is simply no. So it's really sad. And I mean, all of the time we've been saying that the party has friends in the UNC, and they've been denying it. And then Anil Roberts comes on this very station,
yes,
and says that he's going to support his friend. whatever the UNC is going to support, whatever their friend Farley says, this TC administration, led by Farley Augustine, that's what they're going to do. And so it means then that it's simple. Puts us in a better place. And I don't know, I wasn't able to tune in earlier, but Petel made some very important points on Sunday that I'm not sure that the people are aware of. Because while we are hemming and hawing about the bills and if they're better or not, Petel made such a powerful point on Sunday that Tobago has lost out on $5.5 billion from fiscal 2022 to the current fiscal 25. And that is something that we have to be painfully aware of. I mean, I sent you something, Martin. I don't know if you're able to put it up at all.
Yeah.
That the
Mr.
people
Director,
can
let's
see.
get that up.
That we are going to be losing quite a lot of money. We're going to be losing quite a lot by not having these bills passed. And we are now in a position where we are losing money over and over. We are losing. And I want people to get that through their head. And you see, Petel gave a number, and I don't know if Petel wanted to chime in here as we take on that thing. Petel gave a number of $5.5 billion. Petel, I don't know if you wanted to kind of just break it down because you're great accountant as you are. People must be wondering what place you're really talking about.
No. The bills came before the Parliament in 2021. And the first fiscal year of this administration, if the bills were passed, would have been 2022, the full financial year 2022. So when you compare the minimum budgetary allocation that was received from 2022 to 2025 in the last budget that was read by Minister Imbert, you compare that allocation to what we would have received if the bills were passed on a minimum allocation of 6.8%. The difference between what we receive and what we would have received over those years from 2022 to 2025 in that last allocation that we received would have been $5.52 billion. So in 2022, and I want to break it down again, in 2022, at the end of 2022, we would have received an allocation of $2.35 billion. If we had the bills, the 6.8% was 3.57. That would have been our allocation in that year. The amount lost from not having the bills was $1.208 billion. I'm speaking millionaire?
Billions.
$1 billion. For fiscal or financial year ended 2023, the allocation to the THA was 2.52. With 6.8%, it would have been 3.9. The amount lost was $1.402 billion.
Wow.
We go down again to 2024. The allocation we received was 2.585. If we had the 6.8%, it would have been $4.03 billion. We lost out on $1.445 billion. Wow. And the last budget that was read, we received 2.559. Under a 6.8 minimum, it would have been 4.06. So we lost out on another 1.463 billion. When you add up all those years, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, the total amount lost was 5.52 billion.
Wow.
And if you look to what was requested in the last THA estimates in June for fiscal 2025, it was approximately 3-point-something billion. So we requested 3.5, which was a 5.8, I think it was. With the minimum of 6.8, we would have gotten more than what was requested. So we would have gotten
more
all
than
that
what
we
they asked
want
for.
and some left over.
Wow.
And for an administration that is complaining about not getting sufficient funds, and because they have not received sufficient funds, they cannot do what they have promised, and they can't develop Tobago in the way that they would develop. I think an opportunity like this, they would have grasped it with both hands.
Yeah.
So again, we have to ask the question, Mr. Devines, why wouldn't you want an increased allocation to promote or increase or accelerate the development agenda of the island?
And Petal, that point is so potent. And I mean, although I tell people that the bills are much more than just the money, we can't play down the value, literally, of what the additional revenue for the island of Tobago would do. And I just want to put something in context very quickly before we move forward. Because some people don't usually get the concept of the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. And I remember seeing an article once, and I put it back up. And it shared that if you earn $1 every second, every second of every day, it will take you 11 and a half days to become a millionaire, right? If you earned $1 every second of every day, it would take you almost 32 years to become a billionaire. And so there's a vast difference between passing up a few millions, and we're talking here about billions, $5.5 billion. And people again might say, well, okay, I hear that, so why they couldn't give us the 5.5 billion? But if the law would have assured, or the law would have guaranteed that we get 6.8%, why not do like when the unions are negotiating for increased salaries? The unions will go and they say they want 6%, they want 10%. In the end, the pilots just agree to 4%. And they agree to 4% because they asked themselves some hard questions. Will we be in a better place than we were yesterday or the year before? And the answer is yes. Does it stop us from negotiating in the future for greater an increase again? No. And so having the bills now as they are, we have already lost 5.5 billion. And Marilyn, I just wanted to share, because I was doing some work, when Petal started speaking on Sunday, it really hit me. And I said, you know what? Let me really do some maths, because sometimes you really want the maths to come into it.
Yeah.
And I said, housing is a big problem in Tobago, and it was been a challenge. Even though the PNM was able to build housing in Blenheim, in Roxborough, in Adventia, all of these places, Bergarden, and although the PNM was able to do it, housing is a major issue in Tobago. And you heard, Petra, when you asked the gentleman, the good Secretary of Settlement, said, he said, watch me work.
Watch me work. We have been watching.
We put on glasses.
I don't know if we've all become Stevie Wonder or what, but we're not seeing anything. So I did the math, Maria, and I said, hold on. If we were to get, and we could get a house so much cheaper, but if you were to spend $1.8 million per unit, 1.8 million, because the THA already owns the land, we don't have to buy land. So I'm putting 1.8 million. I'm going on the upper side of it. You could build 1,000 houses, and that would cost you $1.8 billion. We could then build the Lambo Primary School. We hear the children of Lambo complaining. That should cost about $60 million. The Scarborough Secondary School that they just turned this up for, let's call it $100 million, because they don't even know the cost rate. They turn this up, the sign up in Bush now for anybody who passes there.
Yeah.
It's only Bush now. Only Bush. They don't know the cost. There was never any designs done, nothing. But let's call it $100 million. It could be more. The last I checked when we left office, the Goodwood, the Charlottesville Community Center and Pavilion, that project that is still stalled, but it's still there, incomplete. $12.3 million. Surfing Bend, which we left again, shovel ready, $70 million. We could go down to the Palliative Jetty, estimated at $100 million. Goodwood Pavilion, $9 million. The agro-processing facility, $20 million. And we could go on and on with these things. We could even add, we could have paid the
aircraft.
We could have paid the fishermen, we could afford to buy a new cargo vessel and stop the coal. We could say, you know what? Port Authority, we would buy our own vessel, $500 million we will spend on that, and you will run it for us. We will say, you know what, Carl? We fed up here complaining, we'll buy a new jet, $718 million, operate it for us. When we want to bring people from New York, you fly them from New York. When you want to come from Miami, fly them from Miami. Carl, we want a new ATR that leaves Tobago and operation Tobago. Run that whole day. We buy you a new ATR, $176 million. And you could do like Guyana, and you know they like the extra payment. We could give everyone a voting age in Tobago $1,000. And that would only be $58 million.
Yeah.
And that comes up to about $3.679 billion. Which means that
we have $2 more billion. So we could outfit the hospital.
After we did all
we could
of
add
this,
more beds in the hospital. We could buy medication for the hospital. We could provide for the equipment in schools, because teachers and principals complaining about their stationery and stuff. Parents have to buy copying paper.
Okay. The road, the potholes, some of the potholes that bust inside, the roads could finally be paved. They could build roads and give it to all of their friends if they wanted to. All of these things could have been done. The farmers, the agricultural access roads could have been completed. The farmlands could have been developed. We could have upgraded Tikoswab. All of these things could have been done since we shut down those bills. $5.5 billion. If for nothing else, could you imagine the opportunity that we have lost? What have we gained by storing the bills? What have we gained? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What have we lost? The opportunity cost, as they say, ceteris paribus. Look at all of the things we could have done. Think of the business, the business development funds that could have been put into small businesses. Think about the upgrades to the hotels. Think about all of these things, all of the tractor pool, all of these places, all of these services. Think of the employment that could have been created. $5.5 billion. While we sit here in Manhor about 1 nautical mile or 5 or 6. While we sit and we hem and haw about those things, we have lost out already on $5.5 billion. And we say lost because the government has already said they are supporting 22 votes in your pocket. We need another 9 votes. The UNC is willing to support if Farley supports it. So if we go through at this rate, we'll go and lose another almost $2 billion by the end of this TPP or PDP or whoever, independent, whatever they call themselves. By the end of this administration's 4 years in office, we could have lost upward of $7 billion in potential revenue for the people of Tobago. Think about that now.
That's so true, Kwesi.
Yes, all
so imagine
persons seeking for tertiary education that go in for support and for whatever reason
and getting shut down,
can't provide the support. That has
people being sent home from
more
school.
People, yes.
Children being sent home. People's children being sent home from university because they claim there's a lack of funds. Of course, things that we were doing all the time. They know how they're managing the funds now. Probably the Lord works in mysterious ways. He knows why giving this administration $5 billion is not the best idea. But I am willing to set aside my personal feelings about this administration and think about the people of Tobago. Even if they decided, you know what, because if they sent away $300 million of all the development funds to Trinidad, even if they were to send away half or $2 billion, because you realize I deliberately stopped here at $3.7 billion because I'm leaving $2 billion for them to frolic with because they still have to travel. For all you know, they might decide they want the chief secretary a private jet. They might decide that they want to build a road to Tobago so they can get to their friends easy. I don't know. The fact is, we could have done so much for the people of Tobago. And while we what harm is there? What harm is there in saying, listen, we will take this for now. The people of Tobago, just like the people in Scotland, just like the people of Wales and Northern Ireland, the people of Tobago are still not as satisfied as we can be. But this ties us a long way. Farmers now are suffering because of parrots. The orange tip parrot is protected, but it's a pest in Tobago. We could have passed laws to ensure that the farmers are protected from the parrots. We could have passed laws. Sometimes you're driving on some roads in Tobago and we can't get a pass, but people park up all over the road corner like they don't care anymore. We could have passed laws to protect our roadways. We say, no, we could park here during this time, but once we could park between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., you could park here. And we do that in other parts of the world. Between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., you could park in this spot, or 6 p.m. and whatever time. We could have passed a law to say that people wouldn't have to get their cars wrecked. People wouldn't be getting into accidents all the time because we could have regulated those things. Building on some hillside, some people building, trying to cut some impossible roads. We could have passed laws to protect us from those things. Imagine right now there are people who are running their wastewater into their neighbors' yards. We could have passed laws to protect people like that. Because under the ordinances, under what we could pass laws for, we could have passed laws for all of those things. But we're sitting back and we want to get more nautical miles. We're sitting back and we're trying to say, well, it's 8% instead. And you know, I really wish our MP for Tobago West, Marion, will come onto the program because she also shared, a very detailed history of the progression of these bills.
Yeah.
Because some people are talking about, well, the UNC brought a bill with 8%. I want you all to recognize that the UNC had no consultations whatsoever. The same people now who jumping up and down and talking about not enough consultation, they were a part of it. They were a part of giving the UN, preparing a bill for the UNC to bring in Parliament 2 weeks before the election. 2 weeks before the election. 2 weeks. Because they felt the people of Tobago could be hoodwinked. 2 weeks. And now they're jumping up and down and saying not enough consultation. When we are talking about almost 8 years, this process has been going on. Close to probably 10 years as a matter of fact, because I think it's 2014 effective, or 2013 to 2014, this process actually started. 10 years this has been going on for. Not enough consultation. And you wanted to support a bill that came to Parliament 2 weeks. Not even a joint select committee was it referred to.
Yeah.
They put it straight on the floor of Parliament.
John Prince committee may have been before that. I don't know if it's 2007. I was trying to get. So it's a long time. It's been a long time the discussions have been ongoing.
An extremely long time. And the thing I didn't even add in because the committee, the forum of political leaders used the information from John Prince. So we could go as far back as John Prince, but I'm just looking at the forum of political leaders which started in 2013 to 2014. 10 years. And we still hear him and hawing about whether we should direct elect a chief secretary, or whether he should be premier or chief secretary, or whether we should get 12 nautical miles or 15. Who is stealing the resources? If the people are putting forth inside to put up a placard and say, well, you've been stealing our resources, or the people in Labray say, well, you are stealing our resources, you can't pay for any roads again with this, with any asphalt from the pitch. What position are we in as a country?
And I want to go back to the discussions you were having in terms of the negotiations and the pilot. Because we are a twin island republic, it's all about negotiation, and it's about giving and taking and coming to a consensus about both parties benefiting. Because as you rightly said, if every part of Trinidad decides that, you know, we want the resources for that part, what will happen to the whole?
And I can tell you, because
discussions were on the table in terms of secession. We agreed that we did not want to secede. We wanted to remain a Twin Island Republic. Discussions also happened surrounding the whole issue of federalism.
And there was consensus wide.
Yes. So I'm not sure why these things are coming back again on the discussion table, when in my view, and I think the view of Tobago, those things were exhausted, was consulted, voted upon, and we were in an agreement to a particular direction that we wanted to take.
Correct.
And then when we come to negotiate with the parliament, what do we give and what do we take?
And Petra, that's a very potent point, because I can tell you, I remember in 2018, I think it was, the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Pinal was saying, well, give us Tobago money. And in Shoguanas, you hear people talk about, well, we have more people in Shoguanas than in Tobago. Yes. We should get more money. Everywhere in Trinidad, I've had colleagues in Port of Spain, City Corporation, who say, okay, so you'll have it nice in Tobago, you know. Port of Spain has more people, but you'll get more money than us. And of course, I have to bring up the point that the THA has much more responsibility and that we can't drive down the road to San Fernando General if it is something not working in Scarborough General. And we are separated, and I share, and I will always argue these things, no matter who, no matter what flag you're flying, no matter what color, no matter what creed, no matter what race. And the point I'm making is we have to be realistic, because we have now gone through such a long process of consultation to have a position that is agreed upon by the majority. And now the minority, the opposition in Parliament has gone to say, well, we will support whatever my friend Farley said. And they know why they say that. They know exactly why they say that. They're laughing because they know to themselves they will never let that bill pass, because it is not in their interest to let the bill pass. And that's the bottom line. It's just like they want to debate crime and make crime a political issue. It's in their interest to be able to point a finger. It's not, if the opposition leader who brought up all of these initiatives in her budget presentation, if she was serious about any of them, she just like the minority in Tobago has the opportunity to bring a motion. She could bring anything to Parliament except a money bill. She can't bring money bills, right? When they have the minority, the private members motion, she could bring a motion on these things, but she will not do it because she prefers to make it a political issue. And it's the same thing that Farley is doing now, because he's been advised. They prefer to make it a political. So when it was good and it sounded good, and they could go on a platform, they will fight for autonomy for Tobago. And now they're in charge. They could do what they want. They could dump oil where they want, and they could do whatever they want, and they could hoodwink who they could hoodwink. Autonomy is not a real issue. And so we're going to be stuck in this cycle for another generation.
I want us to and I ask the director just to bring back up this comparison chart. Because I think it is disingenuous for anyone to suggest that we have not, as the People's National Movement, broken down the benefit of the bill to the people of Tobago. I think I can go even further and say that the People's National Movement is the only political entity that has been speaking to the benefit of this particular bill to the people of Tobago. As a matter of fact, which present member of the administration have we heard support anything in the bill and said that, well, this is good? It can't be that the bill, they just totally bad. So no member of this administration has said, well, okay, it is good for us to have legislative powers.
The Chief Secretary did indicate, remember, some time ago, the Chief Secretary said that the bills are not all bad.
Yes, he did say that.
Yes. So again, it just goes back to show that they don't have common consensus among themselves on this matter.
And that is the thing. Have they actually sat as a unit, and I don't want to say as a political party because I think they're still in the status of independence. Have they sat as a unit and actually gone through this bill? And I would love to ask that question. How many of them have ever read this document?
Because from the discussions in the House,
it shows
the information that they have provided is, I don't know where their information came from, but it is not the information that is in the documents, and it's misinformation. So one, we heard a member speaking to the bills that were sent by the THA to the cabinet, spoke to 200 nautical miles. The minority leader in his rebuttal went back to the bills that were sent, and the bill spoke to 12 nautical miles. So in the request by the THA that was unanimously approved by the THA then, the request was 12. We are now getting 11. So it's one different than what we requested, and it's more than what we currently have. Another misinformation that has been coming forward is that the bills are taken away. And the Deputy Chief Secretary said that the bills are taken away because it speaks to inland waters and inner waters. But the existing legislation, Act 40 of 1996, also speaks to inland waters, and it gives us 6 nautical miles. This current legislation speaks to inland waters, and it gives us 11 nautical miles.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm encouraging people to go and read the bills for yourself, so that when they come giving the misinformation, you will know what are the contents or what is entailed in the bill, so you can also do your own rebuttal and not be misinformed. Because I wonder if it's a deliberate attempt to misinform the public.
And you know, Petal, I may have been satisfied, or buoyed rather, if someone said, well, you know, similar to Scotland or wherever else, let's propose a revenue sharing approach to any natural resources found in Tobago waters, instead of just trying to hoodwink people into believing that there's nothing and that they're stealing something from. Nobody's stealing anything. The people of Point 14 or South Trinidad are not jumping up and saying that you all are stealing from us. That's just not how it works. We are one country still. And we now have an opportunity to get a greater share of the pie to drive the development of Tobago.
Exactly. Folks, I want us to take a very quick break. We're going to pay some bills. And when we get back, we're going to begin to land this particular flight on this conversation about autonomy. So we're going to pay some bills, stay locked on, and we'll be right back.
Tobago, your voice matters. The Police Complaints Authority invites the public to its community outreach session. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to attend and give us feedback. Join us Thursday, 14th November at the Canaan Bonaccord Multipurpose Facility from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come share your thoughts, raise your concerns, and learn about how the PCA serves to ensure accountability within our police service. Your input makes a difference. Let's work together for a safer, stronger community. The Police Complaints Authority. Independence, integrity, and transparency in action.
Are you thinking about spending Christmas in Tobago? Well, call us at Thorns Place. We are located at the hills of Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port, with rooms starting at 200 TT. Call us now at 745-7306 or 682-8676. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Message us on WhatsApp at Thorns Place. Your Christmas in Tobago will be even more special.
Get ready for Tobago Stockwest Next Level 2024. Join us for an unforgettable night of talent and excitement as Tobago Stockwest, in collaboration with Tobago Updates, presents the first semi-final on Thursday, November 14th, 2024, and the second semi-final on November 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Shore Park Complex. Celebrate the incredible talent from across Tobago's communities and witness a showcase like no other. Admission is just $50. Don't miss your chance to support the stars of tomorrow. See you there.
Coming up, Friendship 7K excitement, local business support in St. Martin, greater air travel to destinations like Barbuda, accommodated in style, the contributions of Raymond Lawrence. It's all next on this station.
Hey everyone, it's time to stand up and make a difference. This year, we're coming together for the walk against crime. Bright and early at 5:30 a.m. on November 15th, we will be walking through the village of Golden Lane.
And guess what? After our walk, there will be a delicious breakfast waiting just for you. And that's not all. Get ready for an aerobics burnout session where we'll be moving, grooving, and having fun.
Let's show that we care about our community. When we work together, we're sending a message. We want to live in a safe, happy place, free from crime. So grab your sneakers, tell your friends, and get ready to be a part of something big.
Remember, it's not just a walk, it's a way to show we all have the power to help make our world better. See you there!
Yes, folks, we are indeed back, and I mean, quite interesting conversations happening here about the Tobago's autonomy, about the bill itself, and about the benefits to Tobago and Tobagonians. And I want to say something, I'll make this categorically clear. The position of these bills, the positions that they are in the Parliament presently, and we've alluded to it, has been decades of consultation, basically. Every stone has been unturned, every conversation has been put out there, every consideration has been made. These are not fly-by-night bills. Nobody didn't wake up one morning and just send a document. To come to this stage to suggest that enough has not been said or enough has not been done with respect to the consultations on these bills, there's no other word to describe it but disingenuous, and one trying to put a spoke in the wheel of Tobago's advancement. And the Chief Secretary always likes to talk about who are the enemies of Tobago and the enemies of Tobago's progress. But to come with something like this, not only himself, but anyone who supports the claim that there's still not enough conversation, these to me are the real enemies of Tobago. Because even at your own, if you weigh things out in your own home, when you get an increase in salary, you begin now to be able to achieve different things and so on. Now, this is added responsibility. However, you have the opportunity to say, I can cut back on this because this is no longer a priority. I can focus on this month. I know there are homes who want to achieve certain things and they say, okay, over the next 3 to 4 months, this is where we're going to put the bulk of the savings. The THA is the only entity in the government of Trinidad and Tobago that has the opportunity to reprioritize. And we can go back to the conversation. We can sit and say, okay, based on what has been allocated we will not do this anymore because we've changed our focus and we could shift the funds around. So to come with the conversation about getting more responsibilities, even though it's more money and it still wouldn't be enough, I mean, it's foolish to say the least. Because this is something, a practice that is a daily practice. The THA has been doing it for years. And I think it's the envy of many government ministries who, when it is they set their allocation requests, they have to stick to it.
Go back to the ministry for approval.
Go back to the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, because, so 2007, thereabout, we had the John Springs Committee, and they would have gone throughout Trinidad and Tobago having these discussions and consultations. Then we had the Forum of Political Leaders coming to add to those consultations. Then we had the Joint Select Committee that would have engaged experts and would have gone through the bill that was sent from the THA clause by clause, brought in all the experts to go over. And I think the point that must be made, because people, particularly those on the other side, those opposed to the PNM, speaking that these bills are PNM bills. These bills are the work of a Joint Select Committee. The Joint Select Committee includes members of the government, members of the opposition, as well as members on the independent bench.
Yeah.
This is the work of the Joint Select Committee that would have engaged experts, lawmakers and draftsmen to help them in the construction of this bill. Of these bills. So this is not a PNM position. The bills are currently before the committee of the parliament. And again, they will go through them clause by clause. And even before the bills reached at that stage, there were added consultation coming out of the work of the Joint Select Committee. I remember being a part of meetings where the Joint Select Committee would have called the Forum of Political Leaders to address the Joint Select Committee in Trinidad. When the bills were drafted, they had consultations in Tobago. Persons would have put forward their views, and those views that were not included in the original draft were then included in the last draft.
So what
they
are they
even
saying?
requested additional submissions, written and verbal. Where were you all this time?
One of the things, and this is what we call playing smart with foolishness.
Yes.
You hear the Farley's now using what the opposition, the UNC members are using it, that there was one, Tobago said one bill and we now have two, because there's now the Island Government Bill and the Constitutional Amendment Bill. And the reason for that is because legislatively, the one bill was deemed to be too cumbersome. And you wanted one bill that dealt with the amendment, the Constitution Amendment Bill, to amend the Constitution to enable these fundamental changes to the structure of the THA and entrench certain things, which are now entrenched in the Constitution. And then, of course, the Island Government Bill, which can be more easily amended later on. And so they're trying to play smart with foolishness and say, well, it was one bill, how come it end up being two bills? No, it's not just for legislatively for it to be done. So it's cleaner, much cleaner legislatively. And so don't let people try to bamboozle us. We have a fantastic opportunity now. The bills there have been hours, years of consultation. The PNM is ready to give its full support. And the UNC is saying, if Farley supports, if their friends support, so too will they support. Now is the time to call the bluff. Call the bluff of the UNC. Let's give them Tobago's full support. So whether you're TPP, your PDP, your independent, or your PNM, give the full support to the bill so that the UNC can say, you know what, this is really what Tobago wants. Let's not hold it back from them. Let's give Tobago this greater fiscal and greater administrative autonomy that they're looking for and legislative autonomy that they're looking for.
I would also want to conclude by calling the administration to adhere to the motion that was passed in the House by all of the Assembly, which was to unequivocally support the swift passage of the bills in the House and to engage in bipartisan talks between the THA and the Parliament. That was approved based on their amendments, and I am calling on the Executive of the Tobago House of Assembly to do what was approved in the House on October 24th of this year.
Kwesi, closing remarks.
I just want to, the case is clear. We can go forward with these bills. It doesn't stop us from negotiating further in the future, just like the trade unions do all the time. The opportunity is there for us to take advantage of all of the work that was already done and get greater resources for the development of it. We showed what 5.5 billion we lost out on Tobago. We cannot be losers anymore. Speak to your representative, tell them you want the bill to be supported, support the autonomy bills. Send the message, and as Petel said, I endorse that. Honor the word of the resolutions that were made in the last assembly debate. Honor the passage of the motion. Honor the commitment that you made for bipartisan talks to ensure that the bills are passed quickly. Thank you very much.
Folks, we want to thank you for staying with us, for being with us throughout this program. We continue to educate the public. We continue to provide you with information. We continue to provide you with the facts and the data so that you can make informed decisions. We truly look forward to continuing this particular conversation next week with you, the general public. And we hope that you would go through this week safe, sound, and covered. So I want to say, Marlon David saying good night and have a blessed and wonderful week. Stay safe and let's be our brother's keeper out there. Have a good night.